Welcome back to Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams, and today we're going to talk about a topic that makes most of us want to hide under a blanket and never come out: shame. Now, if you're already squirming in your seat, take a deep breath. You're not alone. Shame is one of those emotions that thrives in silence. But here's the good news: the moment we bring it into the light, with empathy and understanding, it loses its power. As Brene Brown famously says, if we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, shame can't survive. And that's exactly what today's conversation is about. So let's start with something simple but profound. Shame is created in relationships, and the only way it can be healed is also in relationships. That means connection is the antidote. Think about it. When you feel judged, rejected, or humiliated, your instinct is to hide. But when someone sits across from you, looks you in the eye with compassion, and says, I get it, I see your pain, and I'm not leaving, that cycle of hiding begins to break. In therapy, this shows up as what we call relational validation. Imagine a client walking into a session terrified to admit the part of themselves they think is too ugly to show. When the therapist offers empathy, warmth, and acceptance, that client feels safe enough to begin naming the shame. Just naming it is powerful. It's like saying, this feeling doesn't own me, I can talk about it. And the moment it's named, it starts to loosen its grip. But therapy doesn't stop at just naming shame. The next step is about regulating it. Because let's be honest, shame can feel overwhelming. It makes your chest tighten, your voice shrink, your eyes drop to the floor. Therapists help clients stay grounded through simple but powerful signals of safety: a soft voice, calm breathing, steady eye contact, or just holding silence with compassion. Our nervous systems are wired to pick up on these cues. They tell us, you're safe here. You don't have to run. Once shame is regulated, made bearable, it can actually be transformed. And here's where things get interesting. Transformation often comes through other emotions. Sometimes it's anger: anger at the parent who criticized you, the teacher who humiliated you, or the partner who made you feel worthless. And often underneath that anger comes sadness, grief for what you lost or never had. That's the heart of transformation. Shame says, I'm broken. Anger says, that wasn't fair. And sadness says, this really hurt. Together, they open the door to healing. Now let's make this practical. What does it look like in real life? Picture a man named Anthony, a successful lawyer who always feared being exposed as incompetent, even though he'd never failed in his career. Underneath his polished exterior was a boy who'd been teased for being overweight and dismissed by his parents. His core belief: I'm not good enough. In therapy, the first step wasn't to dig into all those painful memories head on. Instead, his therapist built safety by simply saying, I imagine it's difficult for you to talk about these things. That acknowledgement alone created space for Anthony to slowly approach his shame. Over time, he realized the voice of shame wasn't actually his. It was his parents' voice, internalized. And as he faced that, his shame began to shift. He could say, I feel ashamed, instead of, shame is who I am. That's a huge difference. That shift gave him agency and eventually self-compassion. Or think about Marcia, a young mother who carried so much hidden shame she could barely look at her therapist. She whispered humiliation, but couldn't say more. She was terrified of judgment. Her therapist didn't push. He simply stayed present, attuned, and safe. Eventually, she was able to write down what she couldn't yet say out loud: her self-harm. And from there, the door to healing opened. She wasn't judged. She was met with acceptance. That corrective emotional experience was life-changing. This is the essence of working with shame: creating safety, validating the experience, and gently inviting the person to bring shame out of hiding. It's not about fixing someone or telling them, don't feel that way. It's about saying, you're human, and I see your pain. You don't have to carry this alone. And here's the part I want you to take with you today. Shame can't survive empathy. When you share your story with someone who meets you with compassion instead of judgment, shame loses its claws. Whether you're the one holding shame or the one listening to someone else's, empathy is the key. So if you've been carrying something in silence, ask yourself, who is safe enough for me to share this with? And if you're listening to someone else's story, remember that your role is not to fix, it's simply to be present. Your calm breath, your soft eyes, your acceptance, that might be the lifeline that helps someone begin to heal. Shame is heavy, but connection is stronger. Thank you for joining me today on Strides to Solutions. Until next time, may you find the courage to bring what's hidden into the light and the compassion to meet yourself and others with gentleness.